But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more just to be the man who walked 1,000 miles to fall down at your door.
Hello everyone, this is Kayla and
Brianna.
And we are coming to you live from our dorm room at Bemidji State University in the wonderful Minnesota.
Wonderful,
Woo-woo.
cold, windy, rainy Minnesota.
We just thought we would document our time here in this program that we will be spending with the Ojibwe. But we just thought we'd start from the beginning. So 2 days ago on, what is it, the 11th? The 11th of May, we all piled up into 2 vans and an expedition.
On a Sunday, right after finals week. Pretty hectic.
After finals week. It was pretty hectic packing up. Like, it took me, so long to pack up.
Yeah, and about that, nobody packed properly for this trip for how cold and rainy and windy it would be. So we all took a family trip down to Goodwill, and that's where we got all this
gear.
Awesome 90s gear.
We look like we're from the 90s. Like, check out this hat. Like, what is going on?
Check
it
out
says
this, jacket.
Texas.
Oh.
Like, but it's a Hawaiian hat. Like, what does that even mean? But you know what? We look like we're out of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I mean, right?
Yeah.
In West Philadelphia, born and raised. Anyway, back to the trip. So, as the sun was rising at Penn State University, we embarked on our journey to Minnesota. Mm-hmm. So it was about a 12-hour drive to get to our first stop in Michigan, which was on the Upper Peninsula. So what we did was we went through the west side of Pennsylvania into Ohio and then up through Michigan. And we stopped. Where did we stop?
What's the name of that bridge?
The Mackinac Bridge.
Let me tell you a little something about the Mackinac Bridge, okay? It's so long that there's an island in between the bridge. Like, there's expansive water, long road, bridge, highway, whatever you want to call it, and then island, like, right in the middle.
Yep.
And then it keeps going.
Keeps going.
It's something. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
A beautiful sight to behold, though. Like, I could not stop looking out the window. I had to wake up from my 7-hour car nap.
In and out of consciousness, this one.
Oh, yeah.
In and out.
No, Dramamine.
Dramamine knocks you out. But, yeah, so we went over the Mackinac Bridge and we ate at Big Boy's. Mm-hmm. Remember? Never eaten at Big Boy's before and had no idea what it was. Some kind of burger diner place. Whatever. So I thought I would order meatloaf, but then they didn't have meatloaf and it was so sad.
I got the buffet.
You got the buffet. T's silent.
I know.
Okay, well, glad you know that. But anyway, so that was good. And then we got to our first stop, which was a church in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So after we crossed the Mackinac Bridge into the Upper Peninsula, we made it to our first stop after miles upon miles.
Oh, God. Michigan is never ending.
Oh, my goodness. If you ever travel up through Michigan, you are in for a long run. Just make sure you have something to do or some good music or something because oh my lord, it's nothing but a straight road. It's really flat too. It's a lot flatter than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And there's nothing but these tall skinny pine trees on either side.
They're nice though. They remind me of Twilight.
It's actually pretty gorgeous though. Yeah. It's a gorgeous ride. So I mean
have your music or your Dramamine if you're not driving.
If you're not driving. Make sure you don't take Dramamine if you're driving because that's not a good mix. So we were in one of the vans, and there was how many of us? 8?
8 in each van.
8 in each van, and then some people on an expedition.
We are
Team Nancy! Booyah!
We're the best because we got bracelets.
Pretty much.
Made by this lovely lady.
Thank you. I don't know, I brought bracelets, and we all made them, and it was just a bonding experience. It was us, Chad, Felicia, Stoff, Alyssa, and Jamie.
Katie? Did you say Katie?
And Katie. Katie as well. Yes, of course. Can't forget her. So what we did was pass the time. We played a bunch of different card games. What was the first one called? I don't remember.
The Contact?
No, it was before Contact. We played I was sleeping.
Yeah, I kept
she was sleeping.
I don't know what they were playing, but I kept hearing bits and pieces, and they were saying the most random information that I've ever heard. I woke up and one of the things I heard was, it's some type of chemical that only interacts with aromatic substances, and they were trying to guess. I don't know.
Alyssa, Yeah, she was utterly confused when she woke up. Yeah. We were playing this one game where, like, you had to stump the person with questions, and then you gained a letter, and then you figured out a word. I don't know. It was kind of confusing. I kind of forget it now, but after Brianna woke up, we played this new game called Contact, which was told to us by Stoff, and basically what you do is you pick a word. Any word, doesn't have to be anything special, and then the first person will give you a letter. So, say the letter is, like, C. So you have to ask a question with the answer beginning with the letter C. Okay?
Not the person, say I picked the word C, okay? I tell them, and to guess the word, somebody would start off like, I'm thinking of a long insect with many legs. And if somebody knows what they're talking about, they would yell contact and count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and say centipede. If they knew what they were talking about. Right,
if they knew what they were talking about. Exactly. And then, so if the two people that didn't know the word got it right, then the person that did know the word would give them another letter. So then it would be like CE, and then they would have to come up with something that the answer was a word that started with CE until they figured out what the secret word was, and then we would change. But like we kept going.
But if the person that thought of the word thinks of the guessing word before the two count down and say it, it doesn't count.
They can stop it.
Like if I were to say centipede before they said centipede, then
Why did you pick centipede?
I don't know. Because you said C, and I thought of centipede.
Centipede. What are you thinking?
Skrillex.
No, we were actually coming up with some pretty weird shit, to be honest. But whatever.
Serendipity.
Serendipity would have been actually that would have been a pretty good word.
Yeah, no, I was gonna do that one.
What was Stoff's word that was OB? I forget, but it was like some weird word and took us forever to figure it out. Was it obsolete? I think it was. Anyway, so we played that game, and then we got to our first stop in Michigan, which was a church. So we got there, we settled in real quick, and then we were like, oh, let's go exploring. So what we did was we were near a marina, which was near Lake Michigan. So we decided to walk around through this neighborhood. While we were there...
This desolate, sad neighborhood.
Desolate, empty... Really
I mean,
rural.
like, this is the place of, like, horror stories. Like,
everybody was like, wow. So we saw these...
late at night, dark.
Yes, it was very dark.
Barely
dark.
any lights.
Except for, like, the moonlight, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
So we met these two locals. We're like, which way is, where can we get to the water? And they pointed us in the right direction. They were really weird. They had, like, some domestic abuse going on. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they were just drunk and playing around.
Well, that's probably what happened. But they pointed us in the right direction, so we walked down this, like, long, windy... covered by trees. We didn't know what was in front of us.
It was pretty creepy.
It's pretty creepy. And we were like, Jesse's so totally gonna die first. It was like the perfect setup for a horror movie. Like a bunch of, 20-year-old kids walking.
College students
walking in the middle of the night to some dark beach somewhere. It was
in the middle of nowhere.
It was just set up. But luckily, Stoff has wilderness skills, so we felt pretty safe.
He built us a fire.
Yeah, we got there and they had a fire pit. So Stoff was like, all right, I'm going to make a fire. And he
Lord Jesus, it's a fire.
It's a fire. But yeah, so he built us a fire. So that lasted about 10 minutes though. It wasn't a very long fire because the wood was wet. But we did that and it was cool. It was just nice being outside. It was really peaceful and it was cool that we got to do it after being in the car all day. It was really nice to walk.
Yeah.
And
I felt like nice looking at the water.
Yeah.
Water's peaceful.
Water's
nice.
Peaceful. So then what did we do next? We started doing this spinny game where you spin around 10 times and then someone shines a bright light in your face and you look like you were caught in a deer in the headlights and you go and then you fall to the ground. Brianna was hilarious.
You guys will see that later.
Oh my god, it was so funny. She just fell backwards and
you didn't do it, did you?
No, I didn't.
You have to before the trip ends.
We'll see about that. To be continued.
So, okay, it's dark for one, dark. Two, you look up and you spin around really fast and count to 10. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as you stop, someone shines a bright light in your eyes. And let me tell you, it's like
from Shakespeare.
God, I don't even know what it's like. It's like Jesus knocking you in your face, like, hello!
Oh my God.
Here I am! And then you just kind of fall. I kind of grabbed the light because I didn't know what was going on, so I thought I might as well grab something and kind of stumbled down. Everybody kind of fell, except for Stoff. I don't know why he didn't.
Stoff just went like, Urgh!
He did it twice. He was like a
bear. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So yeah. So we stayed overnight in the church. We all slept on the floor. Got up the next morning pretty early.
Some people slept outside.
Yes, they did. They slept outside. Some people on the basketball courts and then some people in the grass, which is, one, basketball court is on concrete, so that's hard. Second, grass, you're going to get dew on the morning, so you're going to be all wet. So I don't understand why they did that.
And bugs.
And it was cold. Like, it was not a warm night. I don't know why they did that.
And bugs.
And bugs. Bugs are not a good idea. So some people slept outside. So the next morning we get up really early and we're like, okay, we get back in the cars. And we slept a lot. I remember that day. We slept for the most of the...
It was rainy.
It was rainy and dreary, and people were like, we're just going to pass out. So we slept for a good while, and then... So we decided, we did our little pit stops along the way, of course. And then we were like, okay, let's do something else. So we played like another round of contact, and then we did black magic. That's what we did.
Oh my God.
Which took her forever
so
to figure out.
That's stupid. I'm not...
Don't tell them the
I'm
secret.
I'm not.
Black magic.
It's a cool game.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. So everybody in Team Nancy found out how to play black magic, so that was fun. And then we decided to do a round robin storytelling.
Oh, this is the best part.
We had so much fun with it. Everybody in the car was really creative.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
We had some great stories.
Solid stories.
And usually those kinds of, you go and tell a part of the story and then the next person tells the next part. Usually those turn out stupid and weird
silly
and choppy
and
disconnected.
Yeah.
But Team Nancy's on point, let me tell you.
We had the first two stories. The first one was about Chad being brave, and it involved pirates and sea turtles and sirens. Mm-hmm. The second one...
Lustful
turtles. The second one featured Felicia.
We have to tell them this is important, because at some point Chad was swimming towards the shore, but he wasn't sure which shore he was
swimming towards. He wasn't sure which shore. I mean, it happens, right?
Yeah.
That was like the best part of that story.
It was. Chad wasn't sure which shore.
That was the story that was like going in all different directions, and it was hard to follow. But we get better as time goes on. So the next one was the theme was adventure, and it featured Felicia. Mm-hmm. And it was a post-apocalyptic world, and they were on a spaceship.
There were tall, dark, and handsome aliens that were actually not tall, dark, and handsome. They were ugly and slimy on the inside, and they really, really reeked.
They smelled. And so the purpose of the aliens was to steal the human skin so that they would feel better. And then it was weird.
We had robot minds.
We had like lightsabers and
I don't know. It was all over the place.
Blasters.
Jamie was evil, and then she wasn't.
Jamie was evil, and then she wasn't, and then she saved us, and then Team Nancy won the day.
Team Nancy.
Our
bracelets glowed. That's important.
That was our communication. We communicated through our bracelets.
Team Nancy.
So silly. So the third one was our best story, for sure.
Yes,
I started it off. We were like, okay, let's do like a scary story, because scary stories are always fun. And I was like, let's feature Brianna. We're not going to tell you the whole story now because we're thinking of publishing it or doing something fun with it. But basically, it's a scary story featuring Brianna, time traveling. We spent, it was the 50-mile story, right?
Yeah, we spent 50 miles developing this story. It was gold, okay? And it was still like each person telling a little part at a time, and it just went around.
There was plot twists.
There was character and theme development. There was
exposition.
There was multiple climax.
Onomatopoeia.
Oh my God.
It was great.
So much. There was what's that literary term for like a special object?
A symbol? Symbolism?
I guess we could use that.
All right, yeah. It's symbolism.
Symbolism.
Whatever.
It was great. There was scariness and death and pizza
and pizza. We spent a couple of turns on pizza for some reason.
That was the only part that didn't make kind of silly. Sense, but
we needed some comedic relief because it was getting kind of serious. But it was really, and I feel like the part of the game was just to like, keep us going, and the other two stories didn't last that long. We maybe spent 10 minutes on them tops, but this was the 50-mile story, and we would get so excited, and we would like build off of what each other were saying, and it was.
I love Staff's reactions. Staff reactions were the best because somebody would say something good, and then he'd go. Okay, this is good.
This is good. All right. I got this, guys.
And look at the next person, like, what's she gonna say?
What are you gonna say next? I don't know. It was so great. It was so funny. We got and it passed the time really well because Wisconsin was a little bit more mountainy. We didn't get any Wisconsin cheese. I was kind of upset about that.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, dude. The Green Bay Packers, they were the cheeseheads. That's what Wisconsin's known for, is dairy farms. This one doesn't know about the Midwest. Mm-mm. But, so anyway, so we were traveled through Wisconsin, and we got to Bemidji. Finally, around like 6:30. So we like made reservations for this restaurant we went to. It was like a complete climate change though, and we gained it, or we lost an hour. We gained an hour. We're an hour earlier than the East Coast.
Yeah,
that's all we know.
That's a gain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. So we're on a different time zone now, which is kind of cool because we drove to a different time zone. Like, that's pretty cool. But we went from like 75-degree, nice, State College weather to drizzling, 40-degree weather, and we're not too happy. We didn't have any clothes, so that's why we had to go to Goodwill and get this stuff. But yeah. So it's day one of actual sustenance of the trip.
Oh yeah. Indigenous knowledge.
Indigenous knowledge
is the theme of today.
Yes. So we woke up pretty early this morning. Some people decided it would be a good idea to go for a run and then jump in the lake.
I missed that memo.
Yeah. No. I like my sleep, and I don't like cold water. So
damn cold.
Too darn cold for that. So we got up, we, got breakfast, and then we had to head over to our seminars. We had seminars all day. Which is like, you think would be a drag, but like, it was actually really insightful.
Time went by, but you didn't really notice.
Yeah,
especially during the first speaker. His name was Tony Truer, and he's one of the best speakers I've ever heard.
Me too.
Me too, for sure. He really laid it out.
I actually just loved watching him because he has such a way with words, and you could tell he was so knowledgeable about what he was talking about. Mm-hmm. And he went through the life cycle. What he did first was he went through the life cycle of the indigenous Ojibwe people, and started from birth to death. And it was just really his quotes. He had a couple really good quotes. He talked about what did he say? That his family came first, and then his calling in the Ojibwe community, and then his job came third, which was really cool. You don't think about that in today's world. Mm-hmm. It's always especially because we're college kids, there's so much push to get a job. Get a job. But that's really not the most important thing, The most important thing is to develop. I think what he was trying to emphasize was the difference in cultural ties. Okay? Mm-hmm. One of the things he mentioned was the American way versus the Ojibwe way. Mm-hmm. And the American way is to, what did he say? Pack up the farm and move to California. But in the Ojibwe way, you have your 300-year-old ancestors buried in your front yard.
So it's not as easy to pack up that farm and just move away when your whole life, culture, your whole identity is in the land. Word. It's basically in the land. And he talked about how that impacted all of the tribes that were basically forced off of their land and forced to move. Mm-hmm. He talked about treaties.
He said it's hard to stay connected to your culture when you're so far away from it. You can always come back, but it's so hard to maintain that connection. What did he say about identity? He said a lot of things about identity and how
this is where he was talking a lot about the Ojibwe language. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that stood out to me that he said was he taught us a few words. He taught us the word for heart, which is root DE, and
it was O'Day.
O'Day. And then there was one word called Dodeum.
Odea?
Dodeum was clan.
Yes, but it has that root word.
Means heart. O'Day which means day. Heart.
Yeah.
Bear with us. We don't know the language.
Yeah, we're trying here. We're really
And he taught us other words that had to do with the that had the root heart. One of them was strawberry. I wrote it down.
Yeah, because a strawberry looks like a heart.
Yeah.
And then he was talking about, like, the word for, like, village or something also had the root word of heart in it.
Yeah.
So, like, it all makes sense. Like, and he talked about how that it's so easy to tease and do plays on words in Ojibwe because, like, the words all have, like, these different meanings. So you can do plays on words all the time. It's just a fun language to, like, you know, which is really cool because the English language is so limited.
And here's another thing that stood out to me and I really liked. The Ojibwe word for old woman, I don't remember it, but he broke it down for us, and what it basically means is it means tether.
Like, it means tether, the one who keeps together.
Yes, and like he broke down the word for old, like different words for elderly people, and he went on to say that, you know how we hear the term respect your elders? That's not needed in the Ojibwe culture because that very concept is embedded in the language. In the word
itself.
And the language, yeah, your language is what shapes your mind and how you think about the world. And like, think about our culture. Like, the main culture, we just call people old, like old man, old woman. That there's no respect in that.
It has a negative connotation to it.
Yeah.
Like, people don't want to share how old they are. Like, there's people getting Botox, and like it's kind of considered rude in the Western culture to ask a woman how old she is. But in Ojibwe culture, it's like age is something that's respected, and with age comes wisdom. So they really do respect their elders, and it's just not something, like you said.
Yeah.
It's not something they have to say because it's already in the language. Yeah, so another thing that was really cool was talking about the coming of age ceremonies. Yeah. They have them for both boys and girls, which is good because we're all about equality. But yeah, it was really cool about like how when a girl becomes a woman, she is empowered by her female relatives and namesakes, that she is now one of them, and that no man is to ever disrespect her. So I thought that was,
no man is to make her do anything she doesn't want to do. No man is to hit her.
Call her names.
Call her names. She's to be respected. It's really cool. Like, normally, when you go into another culture and you see that women are treated differently, like women are sequestered, they have their own side. Like, this is one of the things in the coming of age ceremonies. Like, women for a whole year are kind of sequestered, or they use like different dishes, and they're like taught to be very careful about what they touch because they're coming into their feminine power.
Their power, yeah.
But like other people come in and be like, oh, there's separation. Oh, that's feminism, the ultimate feminism. But
yeah, that's sexism. Yeah. Like an opposite, like that's sexism.
Oh,
like
wait, I said feminism. That's not what I meant.
She meant sexism.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's like, it just means like they think that they're putting down women when in reality they're empowering women, which is like really cool, you know.
Yeah.
He used the example about the sweat lodge, how the men and the women sit on different sides of the sweat lodge ceremony. And, you know, someone coming into that would think, oh, they're just keeping them separate. But really, it's a symbol to show that the women own half of the sweat lodge. Yeah, and the men own the other half. Yeah. So it's equality, and it's not... the word he used was balance.
Yeah, they're less focused on equality and more focused on balance because they recognize that men and female typically are blessed with different abilities
and powers, and like how men are more to associate with fire, where women are more associate with water. It's just something that is part of your spirit.
Men would typically be the providers, and women would typically be the nurturers and things like that.
But like, even like they said, part of the whole coming of age ceremony was as you become an adult, you become a provider. You become the whole point of the ceremony is like you're no longer just responsible for yourself. You're responsible for your entire community. You now have a position in that society.
Yeah. You know? And here's something to think about. Okay.
Food for thought.
He asked us, he was like, what does it mean to be an adult in our culture? What, you get to drink, you get to have sex, you get to gamble, you get to do all this.
You get to own a home.
Yeah, you get to do all this stuff. So he said children are always want to be adults. They're always going to try to prove that they're worthy to be adults,
yeah.
and that they're worthy of adult attention. So what are they going to do? They're going to have sex, they're going to drink, they're going to do the things that they think adults do. That's in our culture.
And that's one of the problems with our culture, because, teenage pregnancy, just like people jumping
Addiction,
into marriages too early, addiction, alcohol problems, like that's, but when, they're taught to be so responsible for themselves at an early age, then,
Yeah. In Ojibwe country, all these coming of age ceremonies, I think the girls' one was the one where we taught she was sequestered for a year and stuff, but the boys, they had their first kill, and they fed the... You talk about that.
Okay, so they had their first kill, and once they, had their first kill, it was either a rabbit or a deer, and then they would throw a big feast for, relatives, extended family, friends, people of the community. And so they would, cook the meal, prepare the meal, and so what is tradition is to go to the, child who is coming of age to becoming a man, and the child is supposed to refuse the food 3 times?
Yeah.
I think they're supposed to, the mother traditionally will go up to her son and say, "Here you go, son," and they'll call him by his spiritual name. And the son has to go, "No, there are children who are hungry." And then the second one, he will, be given food again and say, "No, there are elderly people who can't hunt." And then the third time, he's like, "No, there are people in my community who need to eat first." And then the fourth time is when he's allowed to eat.
Yeah, so he's basically taught to recognize others and others' needs before his own. And he is taught that being adult means being a provider and
being responsible.
And not being a dependent anymore.
Yes.
And that's what it means to be an adult in Ojibwe country, as opposed to...
Western
I'm going to
culture.
go and have sex and drink and do all this stuff to prove I'm an adult.
To prove it, I'm 21, let's go to the bars,
Let's go
it's not
have
really
all
a
the
coming
sex.
of age, But, and I think there's also, an empowerment for girls, too. What he talked about, if every girl had this ceremony and was told, "You're important, you have a place in society, don't let any man or anyone treat you like this way," there would not be as many issues as there are.
She's taught about her power, and she's taught about self-respect.
Self-respect is a big thing, especially for young girls, because the media portrays so many images that we see every single day that affect our self-esteem, the way we see the world. So let's segue into what he was talking about next. He was talking about all this, how the treaties and how they were so misinformed, and the U.S. government was manipulative, and Andrew Jackson should not be on the $20 bill, y'all, okay? Let's be real. This guy actually went against the Constitution of the United States and should have been impeached. So, it's, our history...
That whole Trail of Tears thing, illegal. I mean, we pretty much knew that, but, learning it again was really, they told him not to do that. Mm-hmm. He was told not to do that. It was,
written in the Constitution and, how, whatever. But anyway.
Guess who did it anyway?
He did it anyway. And it talks about, how in the dominant culture, we don't spend a lot of time at all, if any, on Native American history. And if we are, it's either Thanksgiving or some part of it.
Totally buttered up. Yeah. Sugar-coated to the max.
I am so against Columbus Day. Okay, let's talk about that. No more Columbus Day. It should be Indigenous Peoples Day. Minnesota just proposed.
Yeah.
Which is yay. That's exciting.
Get on it, Pennsylvania.
Get on it, Pennsylvania. We're watching you. But yeah, so,
No, hold on. Get on it, America.
Everybody.
All of America.
But we were just talking about how that, how are we expecting our Native youth to succeed in an environment where they're told your people aren't important. We're gonna learn about every other culture, every other, China, Europe,
black
culture, even, that you're not important. Your heroes aren't important. And then that makes them think, I'm not important, So, I think that's something we really need, and it's really beneficial to our society, these teachings, because we've learned so much. And we really wish that, we could, give this to people and they could see a different way of life and have more respect for what has happened in the past. So, Tony was a great speaker, and he's an inspirational guy, does a lot of good work, has 9 kids.
Oh.
Holy moly. That's a lot. But he was a great speaker,
But he raises them well.
He does. He was showing us pictures of his kids like any proud dad. But yeah, so our next speaker was it Michael Price? I think his name was. And then he had his Ojibwe name in there, but I don't know how to pronounce it. But anyway, he was talking about how the rice, the wild rice that the Ojibwe not really produce, but farm and use as a food source. It's called Monoman. Monoman is the word. Monoman is the word for wild rice.
This was a more scientific talk, and it was interesting in a different way. He did relate how the Monoman was. It's really not just a food source. It's really not just something that grows in the area that the people eat. It's really connected to their identity. They use it for food. They use it in ceremonies. They use it
just to pass down information from generation to generation. The elders are the ones who decide when to open the rice season.
Yeah, but apparently this rice is in danger, and
partly because dominant culture wants to cultivate it and put it on the market, like with any other mass-produced food. That's a whole nother discussion about the food industry, but it's something that needs to be protected.
Also
it's something
climate change, remember?
Oh, yes. He also talked about climate change and how it's affecting not only, just the weather, it's also affecting crops, it's affecting different parts of the United States. Even on the Navajo reservations, he showed us the shifting of the sand dunes and how they're inching closer and closer to people's homes.
Yeah.
And it really has a big impact. And people need to realize that climate change is real and it's happening.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, these effects are observable and it's something that needs to be addressed.
It's affecting people it's affecting all of us, but we don't see it because we're sheltered by our society. These are people on reservations and that feel more connected to the land that we are. They see all of these harmful effects. They're watching.
They notice it.
It's directly affecting them. Like this rice, it's
a main food source.
Yeah, like it's
a source of income. For these people, and if they don't have it, then their communities will suffer.
Yeah.
He also talked about the fishing industry and stuff like that. But it was really interesting. It was a different kind of talk. It was more, instead of like a cultural talk, it was more of a science-based cultural Ojibwe talk.
Yeah.
After him, we had Stephen Smith, who is one of the professors here at the university. And he talked to us also about the wild rice. He was more into the science, more in depth. He did research on the rices. He also did research on the mercury levels in fish, and they came up with like recommendations for where to fish and how much to eat, because mercury poisoning is a real thing, and people need to be aware of it. And it's an ongoing issue in the lakes up here.
And apparently, the rice in the supermarkets that claim to be wild rice, but they're actually cultivated. Look for the label. They're cultivated.
Check it
they're
out.
Genetically modified.
They're mixed with regular rice.
Yeah, but it's the white man's rice.
The white man's rice. That's what they call it. Just be, it's just teaching you to be wary of what you're eating and what you're paying for and who your money is going to. That's another thing. But he was a very thoughtful man. Took a long time to, figure out what he wanted to say, which was something I really admired because I kind of jumped the gun a lot. I kind of speak before I think. And I really
likes to talk.
I do like to talk, if you couldn't tell already. But, yeah. Anything else to say on that?
No.
Yeah. But, it was just a long day of seminars, and I felt like my brain afterwards felt like there's so many thoughts going through here.
Yeah.
I was taking notes, and, hopefully I, got some good parts that I, can bring home and, use throughout my life. So, this is only day one, pretty much, not including the driving, but day one of our real experience up here. And it's already been so thoughtful and thought-provoking, and it's been a good day. So, we're exhausted, And I feel like we're going to be exhausted this entire trip. It's not going to change. Tomorrow morning we are getting up early and we're going canoeing on the opening of the Mississippi River. Who knew the Mississippi River began up here in Minnesota?
I don't know.
Northern Minnesota. And it travels all the way down the country.
Minnesota, eh?
Minnesota, eh? Don't you know? Do you want some white toast or wheat toast?
Want some toast?
How about it? Yeah, we're loving the language up here. We're probably in the accents. We're probably gonna pick up on something. But yeah, we're going canoeing tomorrow. We had a really good talking circle tonight.
Oh yeah.
Really delicious dinner.
We had the rice, not
Yeah.
the white man's rice.
Not the white man's rice.
We had the actual
Manomen.
wild rice. Manomen.
We had manomen for dinner tonight with
delish.
our turkey burritos and kale.
We're cooking all our own food.
We are cooking all our own food.
dinner. All our dinners.
Yeah, and we're being pretty self-sufficient, and each team gets a night, so we're gonna have some good meals, I think.
I'm making Brinner.
Breakfast for dinner. Get it? I think we're doing some kind of baked eating Italian. Me and Kelly, but we're excited for what this trip has to bring, and we already feel so lucky to be able to do this. So
Only day one, and I've learned so much.
yeah.
So,
Well, thanks for listening, and this has been Kayla and
Brianna,
we're signing out for the night.
stay tuned.
Stay tuned.